And now, live from the Ford Studios in downtown Canton, here is your host for the Cleveland Sports Report, Nick Brolis. What's up, Ohio? And how's everybody all across the big league city? I am your host of the Cleveland Sports Report, Nick Brolis. We are your TV home for Cleveland Indians baseball, your cable home for Cleveland Browns football, and of course, your sister station for Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Certainly, thank you for tuning into the program tonight, and we've got quite a few things actually on the table for you since last time I came to you, and of course, thank you for tuning into the show. And we got some news out of Berea, of course, which is nothing new. First, we're going to start off with the Browns, obviously. They released their wide receiver, Devon Best, this morning, and it really comes to no shock or surprise to any of us, as we all know that Devon Best has had his troubles off the field, and it finally came to a conclusion today with the Browns' new front office releasing the wide receiver. And for me personally, I think this is obviously a good move, as I'm sure most of you will agree with me on that. And feel free to chime in on this. Obviously, the phone number to reach me here at the Cleveland Sports Report is 330-555-2821. Of course, you can tweet at me at mbrolis, and emailers, I still got your back, nickbrolis8404 at yahoo.com. And of course, there's some things that we got to discuss here regarding Devon Best. He was acquired from Miami last year via the trade, and the Browns then signed him to a 3-year extension. He was due of a guaranteed $5.75 million guaranteed. Obviously, the Browns are going to try to void this contract with the way that he acted off the field. And for those of you that have Twitter, such as I do, and have followed Devon Best on Twitter over the last 6 months, have seen some of the pictures that he has posted on there, as well as Instagram. Not very smart on his part. And some of the people that I've talked to in the media said that this was a huge mistake on both Miami and Cleveland's part. I disagree to a point, because this tells me one thing. The Browns, again, made a move without doing their proper homework. Yes, Miami, of course, they probably, in my opinion at least, wouldn't have even traded him if he didn't have all these problems, and they probably should have got somebody to help him out with the personal issues that he's been dealing with for what seems like so long now. So they traded him to the Browns, and everybody said, oh, what a great move by the Browns. Well, turned out to be not such a smart idea. And, this also makes you wonder why the Browns didn't do something to maybe help him out, or if maybe this new front office with Ray Farmer and so on just decided, you know what, we don't want this guy part of our team, period, so we're not even going to waste our time. So obviously, I want to know what you guys think. He is also I think that they're going to try to just completely void out the entire contract, which is smart. Problem is we gave up, I think, 1 or 2 draft picks for him, so we don't get those back. So, your thoughts on that. Now, as in regards to TJ Ward, I know some of you are obviously concerned as to if he's going to leave the Browns, because as some of you may or may not know, free agency hits Monday at 4 o'clock. That's this Monday at 4 o'clock. Free agency begins. That is when TJ Ward is able to talk to other teams and possibly go somewhere else, which I predicted he would last year when I was finding out all this news about the fact that he's going to be a free agent, and he's just possibly looking to go elsewhere if he can't get a good-sized deal. Me personally, I'm sure that I've shared this with you on previous shows. If it comes down between Alex Mack and TJ Ward, I want Alex Mack to be signed long-term as opposed to TJ Ward. My reason for that is because TJ Ward is a safety, and safeties are not so hard to come by, and Pro Bowl centers, and I know TJ Ward is a Pro Bowl safety, I get that, but Pro Bowl centers are very, very difficult to come by. Alex Mack, a two-time Pro Bowler. You want to keep that offensive line as close-knit and together as long as you possibly can. So, obviously, I'd like to keep Alex Mack around. Speaking of Alex Mack, he has signed his transition tag, and what some of you may not know with the transition tag is he is obviously able to talk to other teams, but the Browns are able to match any offer that he signs. But here's the difference with the transition tag. If they do not match the offer and he does go to another team, and some reports are he may go to the 49ers because they do need a center, the Browns will not get compensated a draft pick for losing him. That's the difference. So, obviously, we hope that he gets signed and we can keep that offensive line intact. Now, other news around the NFL, which we're not going to stay on the NFL very long. The Pittsburgh Steelers, for those of you Pittsburgh fans out there, will be happy to know that the Pittsburgh Steelers just signed Troy Polamalu and your tight end Heath Miller to a 2-year extension for both the players, obviously. And this helps bring the Pittsburgh Steelers' salary cap down so that they don't get hit with so many fees. So that's good news for them, as Troy Polamalu is probably a top 3, top 5 at worst, if that's how you want to say it, safety in the league. He's been known to be a very good ball hawk. He's a very hard hitter, and one of his best I don't even want to say characteristics, but he's always been known to be able to get the snap count just right on so many plays, and he's able to leap over the offensive line, as so many of you have obviously seen, and time it up just right. So I'm sure Pittsburgh fans are going to be happy to know about that. And of course, they're both fan favorites over there in the Burgh, and Heath Miller has played such a big role for Pittsburgh, so I'm sure that they're going to be happy to know about that. And one other note on Pittsburgh is linebacker Jason Worlds actually signed a 1-year extension. He signed his transition tag. And me personally, every time I've watched them play, he's always been able to stand out in my opinion. Now, their first-round pick last year, Jarvis Jones, I wasn't all that impressed with him, but Jason Worlds I definitely think is going to be a solid player for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the coming years. So in terms of them just having a competitive defense like they always usually do, regardless of how old it gets, I think that keeping him is a very important thing for them. Now, that's it for the NFL. That's it. We're done. We're over with. Moving on to the Cavaliers. They had a game last night at Quicken Loans Arena as they hosted the San Antonio Spurs. We got killed. We got absolutely annihilated. And for the 9th straight time, San Antonio beat us. Final score was 122-101. And Danny Green had 24 points for the San Antonio Spurs, while Irving chipped in 24 as well. It was Dion Waiters' first game back. And the first quarter was very telling, because the Cavaliers came out with a lot of energy, as they've done in so many games this year. But the problem is, as soon as the second quarter began, done. They were over with. It was just over with. And I remember specifically hearing at the end of the game, I was hearing Fred McLeod and Austin Carr. I was watching on TV, and I heard Austin Carr say right at the end of the first quarter that the Spurs are cold from the field. The Cavs actually held them to, I think, 24% from the field, which is their worst shooting percentage of the season for a quarter. And what killed me was that Austin Carr actually said that the Spurs didn't make a run. And that's right then when I knew. I said, yeah, now watch. They're going to come out in the second quarter, and they're going to absolutely go on a run, turn it up, and they're going to kill us. What exactly happened? So, the stats for the game are as follows. Field goal percentage. Spurs shot 47% from the field, while the Cavs shot 48%, which, if you hear that right off the bat, you're thinking, well, the game should have been a lot closer. Well, it should have been until I tell you these next couple stats. 3-point line. From the 3-point line, get this, 14 for 33 from beyond the arc for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, if you remember, watching the last game, which against San Antonio, when we went to San Antonio, that's exactly what they did to us that game. 3-point barrage by the Spurs. The Cavs shot 10 for 19, so in percentage points, the Spurs shot 42% while the Cavs shot 52%, but the Spurs put up 33. They attempted 33 and they made 14. Really? Come on now. Assists. This was the other big killer. 39 assists for the San Antonio Spurs, 24 for the Cavs. Are you really serious? 39 assists? Cleveland, why can you not do this? I've said this on many shows before. Why can you not rely on each other? Put your trust into each other. Give it to the next guy. What is your... I just don't understand it. I really don't understand this. Again, I want to know what your guys' opinion on this game was. It can't be good because they got killed. 122 to 101. This is the roller coaster that is the Cavaliers on a nightly basis. And I still say they're not going to make the playoffs. I've said it before and I'll say it again 1,000 times. So, next game, they're at Charlotte. And that is this Friday, I'm sorry, because Saturday is Z's retirement party. We've got more on that here in a second. And that game's at 7 o'clock. Speaking of Z, he gets his number retired this Saturday. And you know who, LeBron James, will be back in town in the arena to watch it. And I know so many of you do not want him back in the city to enjoy this. I understand that. Guys, it's been, what, 5-6 years now? Let it go. And I mean, I know some of you are saying, well, you know, he's not going to come back because the Cavs are terrible. You don't know that. There ain't nobody that knows that. Except for him and maybe 2 or 3 other people that surround him. I'm going to support this team regardless of if he comes back or not. But I will tell you this. I do give you my word on this. I have 6 LeBron jerseys. I will never wear one ever again. Ever. And that's not to say that I hate the guy. If he comes back, he comes back. I'm still going to support the Cavs regardless. I supported him before he was drafted. I'm going to support him regardless if he decides to come back. I wouldn't be shocked in the least bit if he comes back. So, I'm sure some of you are going to call in about that. I'm sure some of you don't like what I just said about him. But, I mean, nobody can take away the fact that he is the absolute best basketball player on the planet. And I've been saying that for 5 years. I said that 2 years before he left the Cavs. Some of you were still saying Kobe Bryant was. I'm like, no, he's not. So obviously, that's up with the Cavs. We're going to head to baseball. Training camp is alive and well. And the Tribe went to 6-1 today. They beat the Seattle Mariners 8-5. They scored 8 runs. They scored 8 runs on 11 hits. And Seattle scored 5 runs on 4 hits. And other scores around the league are as follows. Atlanta tied up with Philly at 2-2 apiece. That was a final. All these are finals, by the way, so I'm just letting you know this now. Boston and St. Louis. St. Louis won 8-6. Pittsburgh topped Toronto 6-4. And the Tampa Bay Rays actually topped the Yankees 5-4. They improved to 4-1. Miami improved to 5-2 over the New York Mets by a score of 5-2. How about that? Record and the score the same thing. I thought that was pretty interesting. The Rockies topped the Rangers 8-2. The Milwaukee Brewers actually beat the A's 7-2. And the Giants topped the Angels 3-2. Kansas City beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 6-5. And the final score of the day, the San Diego Padres defeated the White Sox 8-0. And on a small note for baseball, Johan Santana signed a minor league contract with a spring invite to the Baltimore Orioles. So they signed Ubaldo Jimenez, and now they signed Johan Santana. Man, my English has really got some improvement to do. And, before I forget, I know I'm about to go, this is my little opinion portion of the show, but one thing I forgot to mention about football, I was talking to a couple people at work earlier today, and I was discussing some of the different stuff with the Browns. And some of you may not know this about me, but I'm a huge fan of movies, in specific the Jaws movies. And for those of you that know me, you probably know what's coming. Because at the end of the movie, you got the Jaws boat scene, and for those of you that are familiar with the movie, Quint, Brody, and Hooper are the main characters. And on the boat scene, Jaws throws his body up on the back of the boat, and Quint slides down the back of the boat, and he gets devoured. And as a matter of fact, in the movie, the title for the portion of the movie is called Quint's Last Stand, and he gets just devoured by Jaws. And we were talking about that movie, and someone said, I really can't stand Brandon Whedon. I wish he was in. I wish he was actually in that scene, and he was the one that got devoured by Jaws, screamed like a little girl, all that stuff. So, anyways, that was just something funny that I forgot to mention during the NFL portion of the news and notes and the Browns. So I wanted to throw that out there before I forgot. Now, in terms of men's basketball, here is the AP Top 10. Florida, number 1. Wichita State, number 2. Followed by Arizona at number 3. Duke at 4. Virginia comes in at number 5. Followed by Villanova at number 6. Syracuse, number 7. Wisconsin, 8. Kansas, 8. Wisconsin, the only Big Ten team in the top 10. And San Diego State comes in at number 10. I told you this on the last show that I did. Ohio State, after losing their previous game, would lose a standing in the top 25, and they did. They are no longer even ranked in the 25. But Michigan is at number 12. Michigan State comes in at number 22, and Iowa comes in at 24. So, there are your men's basketball standings for the top 25, here and there. And this is something I want to share to you. This is my personal opinion. I didn't look anything up about this. Since we're in spring training, it's in full swing. I actually wanted to give you guys my top Major League Baseball fan bases. And I did this based on the teams that I thought had obviously the best fan bases. So here you go. This is not in order in terms of number 1. So the team that I'm going to tell you here doesn't have the best fan base in baseball. So I'm just throwing that out here to you right now. I have the Cubs, the Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, the Detroit Tigers, AL Central team, Cleveland Indians, haha, go Tribe. I have them at number 5, even though I think they're number 1. You can obviously disagree with me or agree with me. I don't really care. Then I have the St. Louis Cardinals. I actually have the Toronto Blue Jays in there, believe it or not. The Philadelphia Phillies. The Los Angeles Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants. And I was going to try and limit this. To 10, but I just couldn't leave out the Cincinnati Reds. I think that they always have a very good crowd they hand at home, and I think that they have a very good traveling fan base for the most part. So I couldn't help but keep them in their mix. So, we have quite a bit to talk about, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I opened up my phone lines just a second ago. I told Mark, the producer, to open up the phone lines. The phone number again, 330-555-2821. Twitter followers out there, tweet at me, at @mbrollis. And if you don't remember how to spell my name still, B as in boy, ROULIS. And emailers, email me, nickbrollis8404 @yahoo.com. And we'll get back to you in the phone lines right after this.